Kevin Stefanski's rumored preference for Bailey Zapp over Shedeur Sanders offers a rare glimpse into the undercurrents of distrust inside the Browns' coaching circle. This wasn't about football. It was about control, an unspoken fear that Sanders, with his dynamic skill set and big-name backing, could shift the power structure in Cleveland's locker room. So instead of opportunity, Sanders was met with silence and an injury designation.
If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed.
No one could quite explain. Behind that decision lies a broader fear that real talent might destabilize a fragile hierarchy more than bad football ever could. What's happening in Cleveland isn't just poor management. It's sabotage disguised as strategy. While the Browns obsess over protecting roles and reputations, they're wasting the kind of potential that could anchor a franchise for a decade. The consequences aren't theoretical. They're visible on every Sunday scoreboard. Until Sanders is given a fair shot, the Browns aren't building a team. They're burying one. The Browns are doing what the Browns do best, turning potential into a mess. This time, the chaos centers around Shedeur Sanders. Yes, that's Sanders, the quarterback prospect with more media buzz, legacy weight, and NFL readiness than half the rookies taken ahead of him. But rather than tapping into that momentum, the Browns have left him on the bench with a conveniently vague injury, while the season rots at 2-6. Meanwhile, Dillon Gabriel is starting games, and the results aren't just disappointing. They're infuriating. Less than 60% completion. Drives that stall out before they start, mistakes that kill momentum, and a style of play that's more scared than strategic. There's nothing bold. There's no spark. It's the kind of quarterbacking that screams, we're playing not to lose, even though they're losing anyway. So naturally, the fans are asking, where's Shedeur? Insiders say head coach Kevin Stefanski wanted him out there, that he pushed behind closed doors for Sanders to get his shot, that he saw the writing on the wall. But then, just like that, the plan changed. Whether it was internal pressure, front office politics, or good old-fashioned coaching paranoia, Stefanski didn't get his way. And that's where this story takes a darker turn. Because this isn't just about poor play from Gabriel. It's about something deeper. It's about fear. Fear from the coaching staff. Fear from the front office. Fear that Sanders, if given the reins, could do the one thing they can't afford, succeed. Because if he plays well, if he moves the ball, wins games, or even just looks like the better quarterback, everything collapses. The entire quarterback room would get flipped upside down. The Gabriel pick, exposed as a mistake. The staff's loyalty to a lifeless offense, undeniably misplaced. The franchise's development plan, total fiction. The Browns are avoiding starting Shedeur Sanders not because he isn't ready, but because they are. That phantom injury? It's not fooling anyone. No one can define it. No one can give a timeline. And every week he stays out, the suspicion grows. This isn't about protecting a player. It's about protecting people in charge. People who don't want their decisions questioned. And that's what makes it so much worse. Because this was supposed to be the year they got it right. They had a young core, an elite defense, a shot at relevance. And they brought in a rookie quarterback who actually had the tools to grow into the role. But instead of nurturing that, they buried it, sidelined it, suppressed it in favor of safer decisions that have only made things worse. Gabriel's not getting better. The offense isn't improving. And Stefanski? He looks increasingly like a coach who's lost control of the narrative, if he ever had it to begin with. Let's not ignore the conspiracy angle here, either. There's a theory floating around that Stefanski didn't even want Sanders on the roster, that he preferred Bailey Zapp as a backup. Think about that. A coach opting for Zapp, a low-ceiling placeholder, over a player with clear star potential, because Zapp is easier to manage. That says everything about the power dynamics behind the scenes. It's not just Stefanski, though. General Manager Andrew Berry is catching heat too. He's the architect of this quarterback room. He invested in Gabriel. He passed on other options. He signed off on Sanders, only to leave him stuck behind a guy who's actively derailing the season. The evaluation mistakes are adding up, and the media is noticing. And while all this plays out, The Browns are wasting Sanders' rookie year. Critical reps? Gone. Opportunities to build chemistry? Gone. Any chance to evaluate him as a long-term solution? Getting slimmer by the week. And the longer they wait, the more his value drops, on the field and across the league. Let's be real. They're not just sitting on talent. They're devaluing it. And the worst part? Everyone sees it. Fans are fed up. Analysts are calling it out in real time. Opposing teams are quietly watching the dysfunction grow. And Shedeur? He hasn't said a word publicly. But how long can that last? Because let's not forget who his father is. Deion Sanders doesn't operate in silence. If he thinks his son is being held back unfairly, especially by a team that's sinking like this, he will say something. He'll go to the media. He'll apply pressure. And when that happens, it won't just be a Browns problem. It'll be a national problem. And the Browns? They won't survive the optics. Because once the Sanders family start applying pressure, the story shifts from rookie development to team sabotage. It becomes a question of accountability, of who's protecting what, and of why a team this broken still refuses to try the one thing that might turn it around. They can't ride this out. Not anymore. The excuses are exhausted. The losses are piling up. And the idea that starting Shedeur would somehow disrupt the flow of the team, that ship sailed weeks ago. There is no flow. There's only regression. And here's the scary part for Cleveland. If Sanders decides to push back, to speak out, or even hint at discontent, the Browns lose all leverage, not just internally, but with the fan base, with the media, with other teams who will start circling, knowing that a valuable asset might become available just because the Browns couldn't get their act together. This isn't about one game. It's about the future. And right now, Cleveland's front office is showing the exact kind of short-term, ego-driven thinking that keeps teams like this stuck in mediocrity. They don't trust their own scouting. They don't trust their coaches. And most of all, they don't trust their own quarterback. And when a franchise doesn't trust its quarterback, it doesn't win. The NFL is built on fast decisions, adaptability, and knowing when to shift. The Browns, on the other hand, are stuck in a loop of second-guessing, ego protection, and try and preserve narratives that no one believes anymore. They're not managing a team. They're managing optics. And while they cling to that, Shedeur Sanders is sitting on the bench, watching his rookie year slip away. Watching a team with no clear plan pretend like this is part of one. Watching the league's perception of him slowly shift. Not because of what he's done, but because of what they refuse to let him do. And for what? To protect Dylan Gabriel's feelings? To save face over a bad draft choice? To avoid giving up control? None of those things are going to win games. And none of them are going to stop the pressure that's coming. Because it is coming. From the fans. From the media. From the locker room. And, when the moment's right, from Shedeur's own camp. That's the inevitability the Browns are pretending doesn't exist. But time's up. You can't hide a talent like Shedeur Sanders forever. And if Cleveland isn't ready to let him play, someone else will be. And when he leaves, because let's face it, that's where this is heading if things don't change. You add another name to the long list of talent this franchise couldn't handle. If you're tired of watching the Browns fumble yet another opportunity, let me know in the comments. Should Shedeur already be starting? Is this coaching staff beyond repair? And how much longer can this front office survive another self-inflicted disaster? Like the video if you're over the excuses. Share it if you want accountability. And hit that subscribe button. Because as long as the Browns keep doing what they're doing, we're going to have a lot more drama to break down. This isn't just one bad call. It's not just about a young quarterback being brought along slowly. This is about a franchise that's actively choosing confusion over clarity, fear over progress, and dysfunction over development. It's a slow-motion self-sabotage playing out in front of the entire league. And everyone watching is asking the same thing. How are they still doing this? Shedeur was supposed to be a solution. He's a player with pedigree, presence, and potential. He was drafted with expectations. Not just by fans, but by media analysts and league insiders who all saw the same thing. A quarterback built for today's NFL. And now, midway through the season, as the Browns sink further into irrelevance, he's still on the bench. Not because he isn't ready. Not because there's someone better in front of him. but because the people in charge are terrified of what might happen if he works. Let's get something straight. Dillon Gabriel isn't the reason the Browns are 2-6, but he is the embodiment of their deeper problems. He was handed the starting job not because of performance, but because of politics. He was a safe pick. He doesn't challenge the system. He doesn't bring noise. And right now, that's what this coaching staff wants. Quiet. Even if it comes with mediocrity. Gabriel's play has been careful, predictable, and most of all, uninspiring. The play calling reflects it. Everything is designed to limit damage rather than create opportunity. Checkdowns, short routes, rollouts that go nowhere. And the moment anything breaks down, it's either a sack, a throwaway, or a busted play. That's the guy they've chosen to go with. And the guy they've chosen to bench? A quarterback with arm talent, with mobility, with poise. A player who, if given a chance, could shift the offense from reactive to aggressive. Someone who might give the defense a reason to stop stacking the box. Someone who might give fans something to believe in again. But no, he's injured. The phantom injury narrative is so thin it barely passes the smell test. No clear diagnosis. No rehab footage. No updates from the medical staff. Just vague mentions of soreness and precaution. It's the oldest trick in the PR playbook. Make up a non-specific injury so you don't have to address the real problem. And that problem is this. The people running the Browns don't want to give up control. Because once Shedeur is out there, they lose the safety net. If he lights it up, it proves they waited too long. If he struggles, the pressure doubles. Because now you're in quarterback purgatory with no clear direction. It's easier for them to just keep things as they are, even if that means throwing away the season. And make no mistake, they're throwing it away. A 2-6 record in the AFC doesn't mean you're mathematically eliminated. But let's be honest, this team's trajectory isn't turning around with Dillon Gabriel under center. It's not even about the math anymore. It's about momentum. And this team has none. Zero. The only thing consistent about them is the post-game confusion. Now, layer in the Deshaun Watson situation. He's still in the background, still taking up cap space. Still a huge question mark looming over the organization. His timeline is unclear. His return, whenever happens, only further muddies the waters. Because let's say Watson does return this year. What happens then? You throw him into this mess and hope for magic? Or worse, you keep Sanders buried even longer because you're juggling an injury-prone Watson and a fragile quarterback room already overloaded with tension. This isn't a quarterback controversy. It's quarterback gridlock. And the only guy not being seriously considered, the one not even getting reps, is the one who might be able to actually fix it. Shedeur Sanders is stuck in the middle of a power struggle he didn't create. He's being used as a pawn in a franchise-wide identity crisis. The Browns drafted him, hyped him, and now seem completely unprepared to actually utilize him. So the question is, how long will he stay silent? We all know Shedeur isn't just a prospect. He's a brand. He comes from one of the most visible football families in the sport. And his father, Deion Sanders, isn't exactly known for keeping things to himself when something smells off. The fact that they've kept quiet for this long is almost surprising. But silence doesn't mean complacency. At some point, the frustration is going to break the surface. Maybe it starts with a cryptic post. Maybe it's a subtle interview. Maybe Deion takes a mic and drops the kind of bomb that immediately puts Cleveland's front office on the defensive. Whatever form it takes, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And when it does, the Browns are going to have to explain how they managed to turn a potential franchise quarterback into a glorified sideline observer while the season crumbled around them. What's even worse is how predictable all of this is. This isn't the first time Cleveland's done this. It's not the second. This is a franchise with a history of overthinking, misjudging talent, protecting egos, and making decisions out of fear instead of ambition. Every time they have a chance to turn the corner, they choose the detour. They could have pivoted when the offense first stalled. They could have made the switch after the third loss. They could have put Sanders in after the bye. But they didn't, because the people in charge are more focused on not being wrong than doing what's right. And every week they wait, the consequences grow. Sanders loses reps. The team loses chemistry. The fans lose faith. And eventually, the quarterback loses patience. That's how you ruin a rookie. Not by playing him too early, but by refusing to play him when it matters. And here's the part the Browns seem blind to. If they don't fix this soon, they're not just risking a bad season. They're risking the next 5 years. Because once you lose the trust of a player like Shedeur Sanders, there's no getting it back. Once he feels like his growth was stunted for political reasons, once his camp believes he was sidelined to protect someone else's mistake, that relationship starts to fracture. And if it gets to that point, no amount of apologies, promises, or late season starts will fix it. The NFL doesn't wait for you to figure it out. Teams that hesitate get left behind. And right now, the Browns are sitting on a ticking clock, pretending it's not counting down. So where does this all go? If Cleveland doesn't start Sanders soon, they're going to be facing more than just media backlash. They'll face an off-season of damage control. They'll face a quarterback who might request a move. They'll face a fan base that's seen this all before and knows exactly how it ends. Because this isn't about potential anymore. It's about consequences. The Browns were handed a rare opportunity. A talented, marketable, NFL-ready rookie quarterback with massive upside and a fan base ready to rally behind him. And instead of building around him, they buried him. And for what? To protect a head coach who's already on the hot seat? To justify a draft pick that clearly isn't working? To keep a lid on internal chaos that's already boiling over? Whatever the reason, the result is the same. Cleveland is spiraling, and the one person who could possibly turn things around isn't even allowed to try. What's happening in Cleveland right now is the exact type of dysfunction that turns franchises into punchlines. Not because they're losing. Plenty of teams lose. It's how they're losing. It's the arrogance, the indecision, the insistence on doubling down on mistakes when the solution is sitting right in front of them, suited up, ready to go. Shedeur Sanders isn't a mystery. He's not some mid-round flyer or a camp body. He was drafted with purpose, with visibility, with pressure, and yet the Browns are treating him like an afterthought. Worse than that, they're treating him like a threat to structure, a threat to narrative, a threat to egos. And that's the most Cleveland thing ever. Because in a functioning organization, a struggling quarterback like Dillon Gabriel would have already been replaced. Not just for performance issues, which are stacking up, but because the team owes it to itself to know what it has in Shedeur. At 2 to 6, development becomes a priority. Reps matter. Chemistry matters. Data matters. Instead, they're choosing ignorance. They don't want to see what Shedeur can do, because seeing him might force them to admit what Dillon Gabriel can't. That's the dysfunction. That's the fear. And the fact that Kevin Stefanski reportedly wanted Shedeur to start makes it all the more damning. If the head coach is begging to play the rookie and it still doesn't happen, who's really running this team? Because from the outside looking in, it sure doesn't look like Stefanski has the final word. Which leads us right back to the front office. Andrew Berry, the GM who built this roster, is now watching it collapse under the weight of his own decisions. Drafting Gabriel early, letting the QB room devolve into chaos, failing to empower the coaching staff to pivot. It's not just one miss, it's a pattern. And that pattern is playing out in front of a fan base that's been promised change for years. You can't sell the idea of progress when your actions scream stagnation. And let's not pretend the media isn't noticing. Cleveland reporters are circling the situation like sharks. National insiders are dropping tidbits about tension behind the scenes. League executives are asking the same questions fans are. Why isn't Shedeur playing? What are they hiding? Or worse, what are they afraid of? Because it does look like fear. The Browns are playing scared. Scared to disrupt the hierarchy. Scared to admit they were wrong. Scared of what it might look like if the player they didn't believe in ends up being the guy they needed all along. It's not just about game plans anymore. It's about control. But here's what they're not thinking about. How this affects Shedeur. Every week he sits, the Browns are risking more than just losses. They're risking him, his growth, his confidence, his trust in the organization. That rookie window is priceless. It's where timing gets built, instincts get sharpened, and leadership gets forged. The Browns are wasting all of that. And for what? To stick with a QB who can't finish drives? Who has fans groaning before halftime? Who's led the team straight into irrelevance with no signs of turning the corner? It's hard not to think about what's coming next. If the Browns keep this up, if they let this dysfunction simmer into December, someone will say something. Whether it's Shedeur, Dion, or someone in their circle, the silence won't last forever. It's already cracking. And when it breaks, the Browns won't be able to spin it as strategic planning. They'll be called out for what this really is, fear-based mismanagement. And when that happens, there's no putting the toothpaste back in the tube. Once this goes public, once the Sanders family puts their voice behind the criticism, it's going to be a firestorm. Headlines, interviews, pressure from every angle. Cleveland will have to answer not just for the decision to bench Shedeur, but for everything that led to it. The injuries, the excuses, the wasted weeks. They can't stop that moment, but they can control what happens before it. If they're smart, they start Shedeur now. They get ahead of it. Own the mistakes. Shift the narrative from indecision to redemption. Use the final stretch of the season to evaluate, grow, and rebuild some of the trust they've lost. It won't fix everything, but it's better than watching the plane crash while refusing to touch the controls. Let me know what you think. Should Shedeur demand a start? Is this salvageable? Or has the Browns' refusal to pivot already cost them everything? Drop a comment below. Hit like if you're fed up with seeing talent wasted. Subscribe so you don't miss what happens next, because with the way this is spiraling, it's not a matter of if the meltdown hits, it's when